I'm Jordan Belfort, and this is Sales School. All right, it's clear that nature had absolutely no idea what to do with testicles. They're always hanging out, flopping around, or sticking to your legs, probably the worst of the three, and that is why Tommy John created the ultimate hammock pouch. I have it on right now, I'm telling you. These underwear, when you're wearing Tommy John's, the hammock pouch, you are that much more comfortable. You can do everything better. There's literally dozens of comfort innovations here. Once you've tried Tommy John underwear, and I'm not just saying this because I'm getting paid. I'm serious. I am wearing them now and absolutely love this underwear. And I usually don't like underwear. I mean, it annoys me because it's sticking to me. It's like riding up. They've sold 13 million pairs of these. So there's balls all across America. Not as great as my balls, but they love Tommy John underwear because everything stays in place with no flopping, no sticking, no chafing. I think flopping is the worst. Either way, Tommy John underwear has a non-rolling waistband as well. Perfect fit. Legs don't ride up. You're covered with Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear. And it's a free money-back guarantee. So right now, here's the deal. You'll get 20% off site-wide at TommyJohn.com/school. That's 20% off underwear and loungewear at TommyJohn.com/school. TommyJohn.com/school. See the site for details. I promise you're going to love this underwear. It's absolutely the best. No close second.
Remember, your vision should be on your smartphone. Keep looking at it every day. Every time you open your phone, look at one part of it. Make sure that vision is getting to you viscerally. And make sure it has your why. That's all I want to say right now. Just remember, you got to keep looking at it. Because the topic I'm going to cover, it's not really a skill training. It's more of a explanation to a skill I've been teaching you off and on. You know, just as I've been looping around. The skill's actually looping, but it really has to do with a concept that explains why looping is so important. I think this will really help you, almost remind you as you're going through your presentations and your loops, that you're doing things for a reason, and it makes perfect sense. So essentially, by me saying this to you, I'm hoping that it starts to give context and meaning to what you're doing. A lot of people, they say, well, I use the straight line system because it works. And that's a good enough reason. You know, like they always say, you know, how does, AA, I was in AA for all, right? How does AA work? How does Alcoholics Anonymous say, well, it works really well. How does it work? Who gives a shit? It just works. In other words, we go to a light bulb, right? And we go to a light switch, we turn it on, and we just know the light's coming on. We don't have to understand how every step of the process works with magnetism and electricity and the wiring, right? We just say, well, it's good enough for me if I can put the light switch on and it works. I'm happy to use lights. I don't have to learn everything about it, right? Turn here. Beautiful day, by the way. It was almost calm enough to walk right on the water and not have the waves, destroy the sound quality. But maybe tomorrow the waves will come down, but we'll walk on the water. Anyway, Jesus, right? So anyway, so as I was saying, you don't have to understand how everything works to use something, how each step works. But I think this will really help you in the sense that it has to do with a lot about why I'm asking you to put your vision on your phone screen, why I make you resell each of the 310s as you loop. In other words, you don't just, when you loop, what you don't do is you don't button up your first 10 about the product and then don't talk about it anymore. Every time you run a loop, you always go back and sort of button up whatever you've done before. You loop back, you reinforce the last point, and then you move forward. So in other words, you might have created an incredibly tight, airtight logical case, but even though you've created it and the guy's like, oh yeah, I love it, oh my God, it's great, yeah, it makes sense to me, right? When you do your next loop, if he doesn't say yes at the end of this loop, you're still going to button up that case. You're going to give another point, another reminder about why that case really, that you made is that logical, why he should be at a 10. And the reason for that, and here's what I'm getting to this point, which cuts to everything we do, is this idea that certainty wanes. And you've heard me say this before, but I was going through some old video clips last night, some of my trainings, and I realized something very interesting, that it's not just certainty that wanes. Basically, everything wanes. Whatever human beings do, whatever we get to a point of whether it's absolute certainty, absolute clarity, absolute confidence, absolute understanding, absolute compassion, whatever it is. And yet, 5 minutes later, We're not as certain. We don't understand quite as clearly. We're not as confident. We're not as compassionate. In other words, that ultra high level of certainty or clarity or focus that we can get to in a single moment in time, it doesn't last very long. It wanes. It starts to drop until something becomes a conviction. And that takes time. That takes repetition. It takes, blocking out competing messages. It just takes time before anything. There's a conviction. And that's very difficult to create in someone. I did it with Stratton over time through repetitive messaging and then showing them proof and again, right? But remember that when you're selling, certainty wanes. Certainty about your product, certainty about you, and certainty about your company. What do I mean? Again, I'll repeat this, is that you might have given an incredibly tight, let me go back. Let's say you give a great presentation, right? And you framed, I'm gonna make this real, you framed a really powerful, airtight, logical case, right? You framed it. They say, let me think about it. You do your first loop, you go back now and you fill in the blanks, essentially pick up where that airtight, logical frame left off, and now you fill in the blanks, and now you make it into this sort of super airtight, scream from the hilltops, airtight, logical case, where they say, wow, this really makes sense. It really is. You got them to that 10 on the certainty scale. It's airtight. But here's the deal. By the time you finish that entire loop, because that's the first thing you'll do is reinforce the airtight logical case for the product, 3 minutes later, they've already started to their certainty starts to wane. It drops slightly. So very often, even by the time you ask for the order, they may have dropped from an absolute 10 to a 9.8.